I've been able to make my workplace my second family. So
Does your first family have issues with that?
when I was born, the gynecologist who delivered me happened to be a friend of my mom.
Okay.
The moment I came out, she told a surgeon is here.
Oh wow.
My dad was a radiation oncologist practicing,
Okay.
and I ended up writing all the prescriptions for him.
Oh
So at a
wow.
very early age, I had an exposure to the profession.
Everyone else, by the time now evening comes, they're like dead. But you have been trained ki there is no morning or evening.
At that time, probably we all got bugged about it. अरे हमें छुट्टी नहीं मिलती because we used to see our other friends enjoying life, going for parties, and at that time we were struggling.
Most people meet a surgeon on one of the most stressful days of their life. Yet, very rarely does anyone stop to ask, what does it take to become a person on the other side of the table? Welcome back to another episode of the Athayush Way, where we get to know the person behind the lab coat. And on that note, today we have with us Dr. Amrit Shastri, a hair transplant expert, a cosmetic surgeon, and a consultant at Apollo Hospital. Dr. Amrit, thank you for joining us on our show. We are honored to have you here today.
Thank you for having me here.
So, I really meant that question when I asked it. Has anybody ever asked you, a patient, or maybe someone who's come with a patient, that what did it take for you to become a general surgeon? What was your journey like? Has anybody ever asked you that?
Never.
Really?
Yeah, never.
Then I guess it is our honor and a great opportunity for us to know this story, because everyone's story can be an inspiration for anybody out there.
Sure.
So tell me, did you always want to know that you wanted to become a doctor / a general surgeon?
Yeah, from a very early age, I had that motivation. My dad was a radiation oncologist practicing,
Okay.
and I used to see him work uh, at his clinic in my house. So the inspiration was always there. And when I was in school in class 4 or 5, he had a fracture in his hand, my dad.
Oh, okay.
And I ended up writing all the prescriptions for him.
Oh,
So
wow.
at a very early age, I had an exposure to the profession of, I mean, not as a surgeon, but
Like, yeah, no,
as a doctor.
I get it. I mean, see, we all understand that some of us come from a generation where we were expected to be one of the 2, 3 known professions out there.
Yeah.
Either you become a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer or a teacher. It was very limited.
True.
Plus,
True.
if someone was a particular profession or family, then it was automatically expected that the child will follow in the footsteps of the parent.
True.
On that note, was your mother also a doctor?
No, she was a homemaker.
Okay, so the influence is strongly from your dad's side.
Yeah, but my mother also, she also dreamt of me being a doctor.
Being a doctor.
Yeah.
Was this, I mean, is this a personal story of hers, or is this because she was married to a doctor?
No, this is again a coincidence. When I was born, the gynecologist who delivered me happened to be a friend of my mom.
Okay.
So the moment I came out, she told a surgeon is here.
Oh wow.
So she, from childhood, she used to tell stories about that. So even that had a lasting impact on my mind.
No, I can completely understand that. I mean, as children, our parents are our superheroes.
It's true.
And whatever they say, they do, it has a deep impression on us.
True.
And I can see that from both sides. From your father's side, it was more about the action and the activity that he was doing. He was a doctor. He was practicing. He's an oncologist. And from your mom's side, there were these subtle yet very strong
emotional
influences.
Yeah.
Impressions. But I would like to go back to this lovely thing that you said, something about you being exposed to writing prescriptions from a very young age, because I'm sure not every doctor's child has got that opportunity.
True, very true. So it was just a sheer coincidence.
So did it involve only writing prescriptions? Like what did a day look like? I mean, I'm sure you went to school first.
Yeah.
And then straight clinic.
Yeah, and after afternoon in the clinic, like I finished my studies early and then join dad in the clinic, and then again come back, then again study.
So how many hours in a day would you spend at the clinic?
3-4 hours.
And what all did you do?
Mostly writing prescriptions, sometimes helping to check blood pressure and stuff, and arranging medicines. Like there's been a lot of samples which you'd get, so I used to arrange them in the cupboard,
Okay.
reading the names. So
Like
I
categorizing them and
exactly
okay.
exactly. So in even that ways, I came to know about medicines very early in life.
मतलब बचपन से ही ट्रेनिंग मिल गई थी
Kind
from
of,
the
kind of,
pharmaceutical point
kind
of
of,
view,
kind of.
dealing with patients.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
मतलब
yeah.
you started to learn how to monitor BP at a very young age. I learned
Yeah.
it very recently.
And that time there were no automatic machines.
Yeah,
There
it
were
was
the manual machines, that the ones
pump.
you had to press. Yeah.
Yes.
It was much more tougher also to learn.
But I'm sure as a child it would be so interesting. I mean,
Yeah,
children are very
yeah,
eager कि मुझे
yeah.
बताओ, मुझे दिखाओ,
Exactly. The
मुझे
young
दिखाओ.
brain is the best brain.
Yeah. Are there any other such childhood stories that went a long way in forming who you are today?
Yeah, even what happened was because I knew about medicines, even like the common people, the domestic help, maybe our driver, they used to often ask for medical remedies from me instead of going to my parents.
ऐसा क्यों?
Because I was more approachable. Like they had a headache, they used to ask me what to take. So, and I used to like suggest them.
Yeah.
And when they used to get well with that, they used to thank me back. So that always
It
kept
felt
me
good,
elated. Yeah. Ki, okay, I can do that. Like I can perform this duty. So that also kept me motivated on becoming a doctor first.
So, an early introduction to medicines and drugs, the pharmaceutical angle and arranging medicines as per their names, writing prescriptions, monitoring blood pressure, and even dealing with patients
Yeah.
in a very informal manner. Like you started training from a very young age.
True. True.
So, okay, now let me ask you this. Did you always want to be a surgeon, or was it कि doctor बनना है and then later the idea of a surgeon came to your mind?
Oh, no, I had that vision of a surgeon, like in childhood, you are very much inspired by movies.
Yes.
So in Hindi cinemas, whenever you see a man in a lab coat coming out of a theater and then breaking a news.
Yeah. Good or bad, it was.
Yeah, exactly. So that always looked very impressive.
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, I don't recall any cinema, be it movies or a series, where the doctor was just a general physician or or any other field. The most common depiction of a doctor on camera has been a surgeon.
And it is typically
operation theater, red light.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It looks very dynamic.
I can understand the attraction. It's
Yeah.
very awe-inspiring.
Exactly.
So, how old would you say you would have been when you realized कि मुझे surgeon बनना है?
See, I mean, practically speaking, maybe after I completed my 10th.
But the dreams were kind of
Yeah, because before that, I was too immature to realize
the various angles.
Exactly, exactly.
But then you always had an edge because your
Yeah.
dad was a doctor, that an oncologist.
Yeah.
Like even as a child, when we were sick, we'd be taken to a doctor. So for anyone else, growing up, a doctor is just someone who sits at a clinic or at a hospital. The idea of divisions and departments were not there.
True.
But you would have had that.
Yeah.
Right. And then of course the stories that of your mom and her best friend, and then what you saw on television, they all kind of
culminated into a thought process.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Okay, so then was there any point throughout your schooling, your higher education, where you thought कि नहीं मुझे डॉक्टर नहीं बनना है, या was it always one goal?
See, one thing was at that time there were not many career options.
Yeah.
So it was grossly between two, engineering and medicine, like the common perception what was there in the society,
especially for a science background student.
Exactly. And since I had the inclination plus help from home to reach my goal, so I was quite focused in becoming a doctor.
So I'm guessing, as we already discussed, कि मतलब 11th 12th में you would have taken biology and science. Because that's what's needed to become a doctor.
True.
How was it clearing the NEET and getting into MBBS?
It was tough. But it happened.
Of course. Like, there are many people who don't clear the first time, they give it another time. What was the journey like for you?
Uh, it took me an year
Hmm.
of preparations to get through it, and then I finally joined CMS Bharatpur.
Okay, and
And
that's where you did your MBBS from.
yeah.
Any exciting stories you can share about your time at CMS Bharatpur? Like, what kind of a student were you? Irrespective of the field, चाहे आप डॉक्टर बन रहे हो या कोई regular college में जा रहे हो doing a BA honors, you have students who are studious, you have those who are notorious, you have some who are like the popular gang,
No, I was more of a regular student than being very studious types. I used to attend classes very dedicatedly. Maybe if there are 100 classes, must have attended 95 of them.
Okay, but then doesn't that make you a studious student? I mean, how is it?
No, I was not a bookworm.
Okay.
Whatever the teachers used to say, I used to listen and try to imbibe those things in my mind, unknowingly or knowingly, I don't know.
Okay.
And that has really helped me a lot.
So you're more of a visual and audio learner rather than a person learning from theories.
Yeah, exactly. So whatever I've seen, that has helped me to reduce my mistakes and to pick up the skills maybe better. That others can judge, because for me, I'm the best.
Absolutely, it's always good to have the confidence. You did your MBBS from CMS. After that, you did your MS.
Yeah, in between, I worked for 1 year in a railway hospital.
A railway hospital?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I've never come across a doctor who has worked at a railway hospital. So, what was that experience like?
It was a 1 year of rotatory learning of various branches of medicine. And because once I was into MBBS, I was quite sure that I am going to become a surgeon, because by that time I had the exposure of surgery, all those branches. Right.
So that has cemented your goal.
Exactly. Surgeon banna hai na? But this thing I wanted that as a doctor you must also know कि suppose किसी को आँख में कुछ problem हो तो you should know some medicines for that.
Like the basic ailments that plague people.
Yeah. So once you become a specialist, then you have no time to go back.
But isn't MBBS designed that way, that you get exposure to all the kind of...
Exactly, it is designed, but thing is that you don't practice it because you read it in books and then you go for your higher degrees. You don't practice it.
But isn't I mean, I could be wrong. Just from my understanding, isn't there an aspect of a residential?
There is a 1 year residential part included in the MBBS program, but at that time you are focusing in multiple things and the levels are not defined well.
Okay, so it's just like a brief exposure to everything, but not enough to assimilate it.
And plus, thing is that at that stage you are never functioning alone. You are functioning with your seniors. So
your peers. Horizontal and vertical.
Exactly. So that decision making ability is not that well developed in MBBS. Which probably after that, when you start working alone, when you start seeing patients alone in OPD, you get that confidence.
Yeah.
Because you are responsible for your mistakes.
Absolutely.
So that gave a good exposure.
So I'll come back to the residency, but okay, coming back to the railway hospital.
Yeah.
So it was it something you deliberately chose?
Yeah, kind of.
So you made a decision कि मुझे एकदम से MS नहीं करना है. I want to first gain some experience.
Exactly.
And why railway hospital? Was it just available, or again?
It was available, and second thing, that in railways you get railway pass to travel. So I had a hunger of travel always. So
it was like
it was added bonus.
Absolutely. Matlab, if you can achieve something or do something where you can practice and build your own potential, at the same time have some perks, then why not?
Exactly.
So in the railway hospital, are there certain terms, like what's the terminology? What were you called? Were you called a doctor? Were you called a medical expert, or like?
It was called house staff.
House staff.
That means like a person who is staying in house. Okay. And he's a staff. I mean, he's a staff member.
Understood.
So you used to stay in the residential quarters inside the hospital campus.
But then house staff can be anybody, right? Not necessarily from the medical background.
No, it has to be only medical background. Only the medical background people were called house staff.
Were there not other kind of people who also were like in-house?
Yeah. Like nurses, everyone is,
But medical background.
Exactly.
Okay, then how would they differentiate between you and a nurse? अगर सब house staff है तो.
No, they are not called house staffs
अच्छा.
because they are regular shifts.
So they come and go.
Exactly.
You were permanently.
Exactly.
That would have been a very exciting experience.
True.
Okay, then 1 year with the railway hospital, and
Then I moved on to do my post graduation from Kasturba Hospital,
Manipal.
Yeah.
How long was this your MS?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And again, was this more theory based or was this now more?
It was, see, theory. You are in post graduation. You are not taught. You have to read it yourself.
Okay.
It's not like a spoon feeding. Like
Not like
they won't
classes
tell
and-
2 into 2 is 4.
Huh.
It is like you have to read 2 into 2 is 4, and then you can ask, can it be 5? And then they will explain why it can't be 5. There'll be no spoon feeding.
So it's more like discussions.
Exactly, it's more like discussions, and plus you work, you see how it is being done, and as you climb up the ladder, like in the first year you get to do some procedures, in second year you get to do some more procedures, so depending on the toughness of the steps.
So इसमें भी residency होता है. MSc.
Yeah, exactly. 3
when-
years you are slogged.
Okay, I would like to dive in a little bit on that. When you say, I mean, we all heard that a doctor's life is chaotic, right? And now because of so many series based on medical lines, it gives us a glimpse. When I see some of these series, the one thing that hits my head is that these doctors need to be very athletic. मतलब हर जगह भागना पड़ रहा है इनको. But that's still cinema. I would like to understand from a real person what the real on-ground situation is. How tough is this residency? What does a time in a day look like? What are you engaged in? How is it challenging? Is it difficult? Is it something that can demotivate someone to like leave the field of being a doctor?
Yeah, it can happen to people who are not that much motivated, or sometimes what happens is someone probably has just taken a branch, any branch, be it be, out of just of some interest.
Availability. Huh.
So sometimes, because suppose someone doesn't like to see blood and he ends up in surgery, so it will be very demotivating for him
बिल्कुल.
working.
But that was, I mean, they will not choose surgery then. They will choose something which is
No, because now the thing is that it's all about your ranks. It's not your interest.
is secondary.
It's very secondary. It's very secondary.
But if I got a good score, I got
Yeah.
a very good rank, but I don't want the.
Yeah, then you have the choice.
Then you have the choice.
Then you have the
हाँ, तो मैं
choice.
उसी की बात कर रहा हूँ. Like if some, I'm presuming that to become a surgeon, you need to have a very good rank,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Because it's a very, very sensitive area. It's not. तभी तो मूवी दिखाता है और कुछ नहीं करता. Surgeons दिखाता है because the most, as I was saying, the most stressful time in anyone's life would be when they're coming under knife.
True.
Right, for any kind of चाहे accident हो गया हो या कोई complication हो गया हो या delivery हो, whatever the reason may be, that will be one of the most scariest moments of their life. So I would assume that to become a surgeon is not an easy feat. So anyone, like you were saying, अगर किसी को खून से दिक्कत है तो सर्जरी में नहीं जाना चाहिए, तो वो तो पहले से ही चुन लेंगे. They would have decided beforehand कि यार I'm not going to go.
Sometimes the PS tell influence की कुछ नहीं होगा, अरे क्या है.
Oh yes,
And see,
that's true. Societal influence.
The way what you are thinking about खून से डर, it's like a common man. But someone who has already done MBBS will not be as scared as like a common man. So he may even think that
I'll come out of it.
Exactly.
Have you ever witnessed anyone dropping out of the course?
No, not really.
So
I've witnessed in MBBS level.
MBBS. Throughout.
Yeah.
People have dropped out.
PG mein, see, once when you get into post graduation, you're already quite serious. So dropout rate is very less. And sometimes what happens is people don't drop out, but sometimes they upgrade. Suppose someone has got in A college, and in next year he got an opportunity to work in a B college, which is probably a better college. So sometimes people opt out for those reasons.
Understood. Since we're talking about these kind of fluctuations, did you face any such challenges? Anything that kind of demotivated you, or maybe kind of distracted you from your goal? Were there challenging periods during your?
Nothing as significant where I thought कि अब छोड़ो ये सब कहीं और जाते हैं.
या बीच में कभी नहीं आया कि यार मुझे कुछ और बनना है? These things never happen.
No, because by post graduation time you are quite mature mentally.
No, I'm even counting your MBBS days.
No, not much.
But I'm sure you would have faced your challenges as well.
Sure. See, one thing was that at that time, even if suppose I wanted to be a painter, in those days, taking painting as an option was
Not viable.
exactly not there. So that thought, what probably today a child, that thought process may imbibe him, but we didn't have that option.
No, I understood that back then, because options were limited, so the mind didn't even wander.
Exactly.
ये है तो ये है.
Exactly.
But once we are young adults and we're exposed, even if you're in the MBBS field, I'm sure you're exposed to so many things in life. Easily anyone can get distracted, either due to peer pressure or to competitiveness, or because of internal politics, or just life distractions. Even as stupid as it may sound, but like falling in love with someone and then not being able to focus on studies because you're too distracted. Like there can be n number of challenges that can take you away from your primary goal. Did you face any such or anything else?
No, nothing significant.
So then everyone assumes of ABC reasons as to why someone became a doctor. Usually it is इसके पापा डॉक्टर थे, or it's like सब लोग डॉक्टर बनने तो मैंने भी चुना, या और इसमें बहुत पैसा है. Like everyone has that, like that assumption, but nobody really tends to understand that everyone's story is very different.
True.
But what I'm seeing here is that your story actually, in a way, matches the stereotypical line that dad was a doctor, he was a strong influence. There were few other options, but you were never distracted by that. You were very goal oriented. You got into MBBS knowing that you want to become a surgeon. That did not change. What others would find challenging, you accepted as it's part of the journey.
Life process, exactly.
Yes. And then you took a year's gap and worked to gain more experience, despite the fact that you've been getting experience since you were like 10 years old. Okay, so you have an unfair advantage. And then finally getting into a post-graduation of your field of choice. I mean, I would say that I believe everyone has a superpower, but in your case, it seems to be the ability to focus and be determined. कि अगर ये है तो यही है, and जो भी आए, so be it. But it's not going to shake me. So that's really, I mean, it's truly inspiring to know that. But coming back to the residency, I've heard stories, and maybe you can either debunk the myths or prove them, that people don't get time to even eat or sleep properly. There's a lot of ragging involved. Seniors always take undue advantage of their juniors, and can get very political in nature. What are your thoughts on this?
No, it's very hectic. I remember when I joined in the initial few days, one of my seniors, I had no work. I was just standing and just, maybe gossiping with someone. So he came and told me that if you have got time to sit, then don't stand. If you have got time to sit, then try to lie down and relax for some time, because it's so hectic. You cannot waste a single moment. We used to eat not when we were hungry. We used to eat when we got time.
Okay, so that's true. Like there's no time to sleep or eat.
Yeah.
What was a typical day like in a residency? What time did it begin? What time did it end?
We used to wake up quite early, by 6:15, and I had to reach hospital by maybe 6:30, 6:45. Finish off the rounds, have a brief idea of the patients and what the reports, everything, and then amongst our peers, we used to decide the work, like who is going to the theater, who will manage the ward, and who will go to the OPD.
So was this delegated by a senior or आपस में discuss करके?
Sometimes the seniors would delineate the work. Sometimes we used to ourselves, between us, we decide. It all depended on this, how the senior was. If he was a kind of very big boss, then he used to delineate the work.
अच्छा फिर वही बोलता कि तुम ये
Exactly.
But if he
Sometimes
was
the
more-
seniors were nice and they used to trust. They wanted the work to be done.
जैसे भी कर लो बस हो जाना
Yeah, exactly. So in those cases, we used to sort it out between us. That was more smoother, in fact.
Because you're learning also how to work in a as
Exactly.
cooperation, like how to cooperate and work together.
Exactly. And then we used to have a class, means like we used to present cases, we used to read journals for 1 hour from 8 to 9. And after 9 began the real day. Like the OTs used to start, plus OPDs used to start.
तो
And
जो
same-
मतलब सुबह
जिसको
7 बजे
जिसको
के आसपास आपने जो डिसाइड किया है या जो आपको दिया गया है, the rest of the day that was your
Exactly,
duty.
exactly.
And what time would it usually end?
Day. There was no fixed time, but on an average, you can say 6:37.
Then after you got time to study, or it was it like
No,
closed-
it was again
closed
after
chapter?
that. Two people used to be on call for that day,
Okay.
so they used to continue staying in the hospital and take care of the emergencies, and plus the other stuff.
So on call matlab like
They used to stay in the hospital. They
The
won't be going home
oh, so the whole night.
whole night, and next day also they will continue the work.
And when will they sleep?
No, that's an option. That's why I told you, na, that
कि अगर खड़े बैठने के टाइम पे सो जाओ.
It's not that whole night you are awake. In between,
You take- of course.
Exactly. You get some time to have a small naps.
Yeah, otherwise the hospital beds will be full of the doctors only.
True.
The junior doctors. Wow. Would you say that was necessary? That kind
Yeah,
of
it makes you tough for to survive later. It brings in discipline in you.
Mhm.
It makes in that courage that I can do it. You know, at that time probably we all got bugged about it. अरे हमें छुट्टी नहीं मिलती, because we used to see our other friends enjoying life, going for parties, and at that time we were struggling.
yeah, it would have been really frustrating.
Yeah, but now if I look back, I think that is necessary to make us
trained you.
ready for
Yeah.
the day. Yeah,
Everyone else by the time now evening comes, they're like dead. But you have been trained ki there is no morning or evening.
exactly. There are no
Is that-
holidays. We used to work on holidays
Holidays,
also.
yeah. Is that still the case after all these years?
It's shade better,
Hmm.
because now you don't have that much boss on you.
You are your own boss.
Exactly. So if I don't want to work, then that option is always, which I didn't have
Hmm.
maybe 15 years back.
No, but it's not the black and white that either you work or not work. I'm saying that you're working.
Hmm.
Right now, you're a consultant at Apollo.
Mhm.
I'm sure you'll have some fixed
Hmm.
timings there. But,
Yeah.
but is it still a situation where
Yeah.
you can be called
See,
anytime?
because suppose my work hour is from morning 9 to say evening 5 o'clock. Now I have started a surgery, suppose at 3 o'clock. I can't stop the surgery at
Of course.
5 p.m. telling that
time ho gaya mera.
time ho gaya mera.
But if the surgery say gets over at 7
Yeah,
and now you can go home,
but
can you be called back?
yeah, definitely I can call back.
So
I have to come back, because if something, suppose the
Some
person I've
emergency.
operated, if something happens to him, I am
you are responsible.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to come back.
And that's where this training kind of helps.
Exactly.
Keep you mentally prepared, get anything at any time.
Exactly. Now, suppose I'm talking to you. If someone, now a phone call comes, some patient is bleeding or something has happened, I have to
You need
leave
to
it
go.
and go.
Yes.
I don't have a choice.
The duty of a doctor.
Exactly.
Wow. So, okay, we have understood what it's like doing residency. You did your MS, 3 years. After that, where all have you worked? What has been your journey like post your?
I've worked less than a year in Calcutta
Okay.
in a hospital called Medica, and then I came to Apollo, and since then I am in Apollo.
Wow. So it's been how many years at Apollo?
It's almost 15 years now.
15 years.
Yeah,
So whatever experience you need to accumulate, you have got here.
exactly.
You never felt the need to like go on to a different hospital or explore a different space?
No, it has been like more like a family now.
True. And as long as
The
you can
ease of
give and
working-
you can get it's a
Exactly.
mutual give and
Because
take.
now I know almost every person by face, by
Hmm.
name, so things become much easier when it's like that, and
That's true.
I don't have to explain what I expect, because now people know that,
Hmm.
so working becomes much easier.
your work methods and your style of
Functioning,
functioning, they have
exactly.
understood it.
Yeah,
And I think it really helps once you have become part of the system has become a part of you. Um, then the efficiency starts increasing because everyone kind of functions that way. You make adjustments accordingly, they make adjustments accordingly. So,
true.
so when you
No,
started at
I'm very lucky in that way that I've been able to make my workplace my second family. So
does your first family have issues with that? Because I'm sure every doctor's family has complaints,
I know.
but it's a duty.
She is also a doctor, so that
Oh.
helps. Yeah.
Same surgeon or
No. She's a physician.
physician? So you've been 15 years with Apollo. At what position did you start, and what has been your 15 years like?
I started off as a registrar and then gradually climbed the ladder.
So, and now you're a consultant.
Yeah.
And over these years, you have now become a specialist
Yeah.
in hair transplant
Yeah.
and cosmetic surgery.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about. I'm sure our viewers would love to understand what goes on in a day and night of a cosmetic surgeon who's also a hair transplant specialist.
See, I'll begin with hair transplant
Yes.
first. See, hair transplant is different from other, like everyone knows about kidney transplant, liver transplant. So in that, what is done is you get the organ from a different human being.
Yes.
Like maybe your sibling,
A match,
maybe a relative,
basically.
exactly, from a match, right? But in hair transplant, the thing different is the donor is yourself. We take hair from a definitive donor area, which is usually the back of your head, and we transplant it to the areas where you have having hair loss. The reason why we cannot take someone else's hair and transplant it is because our body detects any other organ from the outside as a foreign body and will reject it. Now, how do kidneys and liver survive? Because they are given immunosuppression. So that the immunity comes down and the body doesn't respond. So when you get an immunosuppression, your body cannot fight
against an alien object.
Exactly, against normal diseases also.
अच्छा,
है ना, आपकी प्रतिरोधक क्षमता कम हो जाती है,
बिल्कुल,
है ना. So suppose my kidney is not functioning, it's for me to survive. Taking that risk is worth it.
Yeah.
But suppose I am bald, taking that risk for baldness is not worth it. Okay.
Understood.
So in this way, it is different. That here the donor is you yourself. Exactly. And it's your own. It's basically हम आपके गोडाउन से बाल लेके आपके शोरूम में लगा रहे हैं.
Makes sense. But then tell me something. If someone's losing their hair,
exactly,
then whatever's causing that to happen, even if it's in the frontal part, that kind of quality will also be there at the back, right?
No. What happens is the receptors that cause the hormones to act are less sensitive in this part of the hair scalp.
Okay.
So the main reason why we are having hair loss, other than stress and all those factors, is the hormones.
Male pattern balding.
Exactly, the hormones. So since the receptors are less, these hairs are much less susceptible to hair loss.
Yeah,
so you will see even
rarely I've seen men who are completely
exactly. You will always see an island of hair.
Yes.
Here, tuft of hair in the back, right?
Absolutely.
So that's why they are resistant. They won't fall. See, even if you had a transplant, your existing hair may fall off, but the transplanted hairs will remain intact.
So if you
majority of them.
यहाँ से बाल निकाल के यहाँ डाले,
हाँ जी.
Then does it act like this hair or will it act like this hair?
Gradually, anything will act. The place which has come, it will start acting like
that.
Exactly.
So eventually, even if the hairs come from here, it will over time become here. It may fall.
No, they are inserted in such a way that they grow in that pattern. They follow the curvature of your scalp.
But then does that mean that will also fall out at some time?
No.
It'll stay.
It will stay. The basic genetic nature remains the same, right?
Okay. So then why are there often complaints when with hair transplant? Like why do people like...
One thing is, see, suppose I expect that I should look like a guy of 18 years with full hair.
जैसे पहले लगता था.
Exactly. वो कभी नहीं हो सकता. It's not a magic. है ना? See, आपके सर पे अगर 100 बाल हैं, 50 आगे हैं, 50 पीछे हैं, तो हम 50 को 30 कर देते हैं और आगे को 70 कर देते हैं, right? So your number of hairs you are having is
It's
same
still the
100.
same. हाँ.
It is not becoming 150.
But then जो पीछे से लिया, won't that grow back?
No, वो तो रूट्स के साथ आगे आ गए ना. आपके 100 बाल तो 100 ही रहेंगे.
Okay.
वो अगर ग्रो बैक करेंगे तो आपके तो 100-150 बन जाएंगे ना.
हाँ.
तो 150 नहीं हो रहे हैं ना.
अच्छा, it's just
Exactly.
shifting the location. It's
Exactly.
not. Okay.
It's just rearrangement.
With respect to hair transplant, is there any message, or anything you'd like to, from your experience that you have seen, that you'd like to let people know? Like for me, it was an eye opener to understand. Like I did not know what goes into a hair transplant, and this was very illuminating for me. That not only is it your own hair that's going, but the number of hairs don't increase.
True.
The total stays the same. We are just kind of relocating it.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that you would like to let people know? Like, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of fears and stigma connected with hair transplant. Even if you see many men opting to go bald rather than get a hair transplant. Why is that?
See, that's a personal choice. I mean that's a, see, many people are surgery के नाम से ही
डर जाते हैं. Agreed, but are there side effects? Are there issues?
nothing as such. Nothing as such of hair transplant. No side effects.
So
Other than a temporary pain and all those swelling and all
any kind
those.
of procedure will happen.
Exactly.
So is there anything you'd like the audience to
See,
know?
we
with regards to
usually
this?
like see, yeah, it's not a one-time surgery.
Hmm.
It's not that कि आपने hair transplant करवा
आ
दिया
जाए करके गए.
करके चले गए तो फिर आपको बालों के लिए कुछ नहीं करना. You have to take care. You have to take care.
Medical care or just hygiene
In
care?
general care plus time to time medical care also.
Okay.
You have to nourish your hair. You have to keep nourishing because see that you have जैसे पौधा हमने घर पे ले आए. It's not that buying that plant
Is enough. You have to water it. You have to
sometimes give water, sometimes give fertilizers. है ना?
So
same thing.
When you're saying you have to nourish the hair, does that mean you have to come frequently for some kind of a
Not
medical
frequently.
inspection?
Not frequently. After a hair transplant, maybe you have to come once or twice in 2-3 months, and then you can go yearly to your doctor and just
like an annual checkup.
Exactly. And that too, if you are fine, if you are having no problems, see, over a period of time, you also, like when you buy a car, you initially go to the mechanic much more often, and then you
Servicing
get to understand the car, and then you understand you can manage things on your own.
Understood.
The same thing happens with any other procedure. As you wear the shoes, we realize how to manage it.
Yeah, understood. Before I ask you about other aspects of your cosmetic surgery, regarding hair transplant, is there any one message you would like to give people, like that can maybe make them feel more comfortable with the notion of hair transplant?
If you are having hair loss, get it treated. See, men look old for two reasons. One is fall of hair, and second is tummy.
Yes.
So if spending some thousands can make you look 10 years younger, why not go for it? See, nowadays you buy a mobile phone which lasts for 3-4 years for a more than 1.5 lakh of rupees.
Yeah, there are few people who are like that. Yes.
Exactly. So I mean, it's your body. You should look good. I mean, it's a personal choice.
Yes.
But there's no harm in looking good.
Yeah.
And especially looking young.
Now understanding the branch of cosmetic surgery. Earlier in one of our interviews, we had another general surgeon, and he did enlighten us that cosmetic surgery is not just about looks. You know, it's not just about aesthetics. Sometimes it's also about dealing with certain injuries that have left deep lasting scars.
Exactly.
Right? So if you have to take that forward, in cosmetic surgery, what do you focus on? What are your...
See, there are two types of clients or patients, whatever we call them. As you said, suppose I've got a burn. Now this scar is bothering me. So see, this is not, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Right. I've gone through a trauma. And second thing is, when I see this scar, that incident when that had happened also gives me a flashback. I go into that emotional pain also. So if a procedure can get me rid of this problem, there's nothing bad about it.
Absolutely.
And some procedures are like मेरी नाक ना थोड़ी सी or sharp ho jaye. That's a
That-
personal
that-
choice.
yes,
Exactly. Just like a
more,
parlor.
that's as like the word suggests, it's more cosmetic.
Exactly.
It's
So the
your notion of what beautiful looks like. And
exactly. Some people are not happy with the lips.
yeah,
Some people are not happy with the ears. So it's a personal choice.
yeah,
Sometimes it's a professional choice, like those who are in the industry.
modeling or
Exactly.
acting or
Exactly.
have
Exactly.
to look a certain way in front of the camera. I think now we're coming towards the end of our session. And before we conclude, I would like to just ask you this. Um, what has been gratifying experience that you have had that reaffirmed your decision to become a surgeon?
Mm. Having people with severe burns getting saved.
Mm-hmm.
See, in India, burns care is not optimum because one thing is that people reach Medicare facilities quite late,
Mm.
and in two-tier, three-tier cities, there is no proper burn facilities available.
Mm.
Private first aid is available, but for that first aid, a massive burn like 50%, 60%, survival rates are very poor.
Mm.
Even a city like Delhi also,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, a person with a burn of more than 60% surviving is 50-50
Mm.
in a city like Delhi. So you can imagine.
And have you seen? I mean, I'm sure in all these years you have witnessed such many
Exactly.
cases.
So, but personally, our success rate has been quite good in this.
Wow,
And seeing such patients get back to life,
functional life.
functional life, it's very gratifying. It's very gratifying.
And so all your years of hard work, of bearing the grunt, and like working sometimes beyond 24 hours,
Yeah,
all that
because
training.
the burn patient goes through a lot of agony.
Mm.
A massive burn
Yeah,
patient,
yeah.
the pain,
The pain
is
is
unbound. See, any other illness, the pain is suppose someone has a knee injury in the knee, the pain is in the knee
yeah.
or maybe in the elbow. But here, your whole body is crying in pain. So alleviating that pain, uh, plus dressings, all those things are a bit of a torture for that patient
Yeah.
for the time being.
Even
right?
though like the treatment of
And when they come back to life, and many of the cases, the burn patients are children because the accidental burn, like दूध गिर गया, चाय गिर गई.
या तेल गिर गया.
Exactly. See, in rural India, kids falling in tumblers of water and milk is
Very
it's
common.
quite common.
Yeah. There were many years ago, there was a case in Delhi where a lady was carrying a child, and somewhere in old Delhi, I think so, they have मिठाई के जो जिसमें बनाते हैं ना, like चाशनी इसमें
Yeah, exactly,
huge.
exactly.
और रिक्शा वाले ने मार दिया और बच्चा उसके अंदर गिर गया था. So it happens everywhere, not just in villages. But tell me something, if a child goes to that, then don't they have a better chance of recovering because they're children, they heal faster, they're growing.
Yeah. They don't reach the proper medical facility sometimes.
But if they do, then the chances of saving them are much
Obviously,
higher.
and any illness, the child will sustain the injury better because he's in the growing age.
It can get covered up.
Exactly.
But when it comes to adults who have faced, deep burns and eventually into deep scarring, have you been instrumental in not just saving them, but also like managing the scars to such an extent that it doesn't impact them?
See, scar management is a long program. Okay, you have to have patience. Plus, you have to cooperate with your doctor.
Yeah.
See, it's just like a teacher and a student relationship. A good teacher doesn't mean that the student will be also good. The kid also has to study.
Yeah.
The same, I will suppose I tell to do some exercises. Now he has for me it's not possible that I make him do those exercises
every single
maybe
day.
One day I will help him do, but doing it daily is not possible or practical for me. So it depends on the motivation and the cooperation between both the doctor and the patient.
But even then, I mean, your field, it seems that the relationship with the patient or a client is long term.
Yeah.
It's not just come and go.
True.
It's a long term work in progress.
And one more thing I would like to mention is, like normally we feel that Diwali, the burns occur from firecrackers, right? But contrary, the commonest cause of fire, massive fire, like burn injuries, is this innocent diya.
Hmm.
Because Diwalis we usually wear clothes which are flared,
Yeah.
like like a ghagra or a choli or something, the
Kurtas,
lehenga,
yeah.
So the flame, and we wear clothes not of cotton.
Yeah, it's mixed
mainly
and nylon
synthetic.
and synthetic.
And that one innocent, see, you are careful when you are lighting a cracker, but you are least careful when you are walking through the corridor which has 5 candles.
Yeah.
And out of 10 Diwali buns, the cracker bombs are usually very small, like maybe in the hand, maybe in the
And quick
fingers.
impact. मतलब
Exactly.
लग के हट गए.
Hut gay. But these leave a long impact. So majority of the massive burns which we treat, maybe 8 out of 10 are from the innocent diya or the candle.
So it's to be noted that during Diwali, light your house up with diyas and candles, but be careful. It's not just crackers that can
Exactly
cause you to get burnt. Wow. I mean, this conversation has been truly very insightful.
Thank you.
For two very broad reasons. One, I don't think ever any one of us should assume what goes in to make a doctor, because it's more about the destination, right? In this case, we always say that it's more about the journey than destination. That is true. Every journey is important, but in this case, knowing your destination is of the utmost importance, because it doesn't matter whether your parents were doctors or not. It doesn't matter whether you're a studio student or not. It doesn't matter if you were clear in your ambition or not. Or no, let me correct the last one. But it matters if you are clear in your ambition, because then everything else kind of, you start using your resources and what is in your grasp to work in your benefit. And you are an amazing example of someone who had all the necessary resources, yet chose a path and didn't deter from it. One would assume that if you're the child of an oncologist, then 90% you'll be an oncologist. But that's not the case. Your dad's influence in life was to expose you to a field. Your mom's influence in your life was to spark an ambition. And the rest was your sole determination and focus. And you went from step to step, one step at a time, facing every challenge as a constructive challenge. It didn't bring you down. It didn't make you feel कि यार ये मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ. Everything was taken as this is going to make me better. And for a lot of medical fields, after they've completed their journey in education and they start practicing and they come to a certain level of seniority, they do have some time to themselves. But in the case of a surgeon, it's just like the residency. The clock never stops, right? I mean, you have to be mentally prepared to be on your feet and at the best of your game at any point of time, because someone's life, someone's body, someone's organ is like, in your hands, literally.
Exactly.
And so thank you so much for giving this time to us and helping us understand that every step that you take towards a goal that you have goes a long way into fulfilling it. I am glad that you are someone who's come on board with Athayush, and through people like you, we'll be able to get accurate information out there to people. Remove myths, remove stigmas, and understand, if you are in that situation, what is the best way to move forward. So on that note, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you here.
Same here. It was nice talking to you.
Likewise.